Now we continue with our focus on mining. We look at the dangers posed to the water quality in communities by mining activities. We're joined by Dr. Gideon Groenewald. He's an independent geologist and geo-hydrologist. Good afternoon, Doctor. Thank you very much for joining us on the program. So most have an appreciation of the fact that the extraction and processing of mined material generally requires water. But some may not fully appreciate the effect that mining has on the quality of water, from the acid rock drainage that occurs to the sulfides and rocks that come into contact with air and water. Just talk us through that process and how it ultimately affects water quality.
Good evening. In short, I'm speaking as a layman. I'm not a qualified mining engineer or mining geologist, but from a layman's point of view as a geologist, from reading of the situation, we in the deep mines have groundwater that moves through these ore bodies now, and then purely by oxidation, we get some of the poisonous elements coming into water. But one must also remember that the mines themselves use chemicals to extract gold, and that chemicals are in the mine dumps that's on the surface, and those seep back into the ground over years. And I think that is where the main problem comes in, with the water that is now underground in these open mines that's not mined anymore, and the water table's coming to the surface very slowly. It's not that slowly, but about a meter a year. That water is now highly poisonous, and all the miners, whether they're legal or illegal, are affected by this poisonous water that we find underground underneath these gold fields in South Africa.
Now that you touch on the legal aspect, given that the very nature of mining leads to unavoidable impact on the environment, what more though when it comes to illegal mining where there are no safety protocols? There's the reliance on rudimentary methods to extract the minerals. How destructive, honestly, is this illegal mining on the environment, particularly our water resource?
I think, the impact of illegal mining on the water resource will be minimal. The impact of the poisonous water on the illegal miners will be serious. So the impact of these people, with the way that they have to use artisanal methodologies, can't do more harm than the professional miners did. But it's the fact that they are now working under these conditions that is now bringing some of these materials to the surface. They stick to their shoes, and in that way we contaminate the environment.
Now, Doctor, we all appreciate that mining is the cornerstone of developing economies such as ours, but the world is moving towards sustainable practices in all industries. Just talk us through the approaches that could be employed to manage the degradation or surface or groundwaters.
In terms of groundwater, I think the only solution is that, these illegal miners will somehow have to be kept at bay. And I read just this morning a proposal that we must try and get them more legalized. I think it's virtually impossible to do that, but we do need to have some structure where we assist these people with payment from their side to lower the water table levels where they need to work, and to get rid of this water by pumping it to a safe place and then get rid of the water, instead of trying to not get the water into the mines, because the water gets there naturally. It will seep in like springs all year round.
Doctor, to take you to your point about possibly legalizing this artisanal mining, if you will, why do you say it's virtually impossible? Because it seems to be all the talk right now. We've spoken to a number of mining experts who say you just need to bring in the regulatory framework now and implement. It's a possibility.
Yes, if I say impossible, I mean, it's going to take a lot of money. And that money, unfortunately, will have to come directly from the central government to get the structures into place. I do not see the illegal miners and these people contributing towards the process of getting a structure. And that is where I think the national government will have to get a working group quickly in order, and with government funding, get the structure in place. Not the people, but the structure. And then you can convince these people to abide into the structure, and they'll have to believe in that structure.
So if I'm getting you correctly, you're saying that we're in a situation that a big mine would have decided to move away from mining perhaps the lost deposits underground purely because it's become economically unviable to do so. Even with these small-scale farmers or artisanal miners, that in this instance it would still become costly if to a certain extent there was regulatory framework brought in, because if you bring in the regulatory framework, there would be safety protocols and they would need to hire people such as yourselves as geologists, and then it becomes costly, just like it would have been for the what we would call the more organized mining companies.
Yeah, I think my answer to you is directly that the illegal miners will not be in those mines if it wasn't profitable for them. So it means we need to understand the way they work, the way their minds work, the way that they are making a living. Don't tell me that those people are putting their lives at risk if there's no money in there. So I think it's a question of understanding how these people work within their structures, and then see if there's any way that we can convince the people who are at the helm of these operations to abide by certain rules. And unfortunately, as I said, there will have to be a constant input from national government to fund that communication, because they will not fund a communication that will be in their own detriment. That is for sure.
Doctor, thank you very much for your time this afternoon. That was independent geologist and geo-hydrologist Dr. Gideon Groenewald speaking to us.